Hey all, Glenn Kirschner here. Please enjoy this video on the Political Voices Network.
Justice is coming, and so am I. And there he is, as I call him, my G-spot, Glenn Kirschner. Hi, Glenn Kirschner.
Hey, Steph.
What a day. You said you're there with Eric Swalwell. He tweeted, "The heroes of this story are the citizens who have bravely fought accountability against a ruthless dictator. They're E. Jean Carroll, Jessica Denson, yes, the redemption story of Michael Cohen, and many more. And most importantly, the jurors. We are not helpless. We the people." Right, Glenn? That's what this is all about.
Yeah, you know, when I came to work every morning at the Department of Justice, I used to say, and maybe this sounded corny, but you know what? Today's a good day to do a little bit of justice. And yesterday, that New York jury did a whole lot of justice for the country. And what I've been saying all along, Steph, and I think it actually proved to be true, is that once these criminal cases move from Donald Trump trying them in the court of public opinion, where he can lie all day, every day, and there are no rules of evidence, no rules of procedure, and no rules of law. Once they move into a courtroom proper, Donald Trump is done. And that jury, I'm sorry, convicted him in a New York minute. After several weeks of trial, they didn't need 2 full days to deliberate and announce guilty 34 times on 34 felony counts that were designed to, help him unfairly win a presidential election. That, I mean, it really is the most important verdict in a criminal case, I believe, in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And it is a sign of things to come, because there are 3 more criminal cases ahead of him. He will be convicted in each and every one. And then we can talk about where he is going to end up for the rest of his life.
Interesting. Rachel Bidikofer tweeted that. Now you know why Trump's judges, quote unquote, are working so hard to deny us trials on January 6th and classified documents before the election. This was supposed to be the hard case to prove. Mm-hmm. And this was, as I imagine you say in legal circles, a slam dunk. So Dino Badala tweeted, "I hope the Central Park 5 take out an ad in the New York Times and call for Trump to get the maximum jail time possible." I've been, not just because it makes me happy, but several legal experts, Glenn, have said they think he very well may get jail. I'm curious your take. I know some people disagree. It's a first-time offense. But lack of remorse, 12 violations of the gag order. What do you think?
So only Judge Merchan knows for sure, and he probably may not even know himself yet, because what's happening right now is Donald Trump, and this is tweet, is being interviewed by a probation officer. So what's called a pre-sentence report can be generated and provided to Judge Merchan. Think about it. Usually judges don't know anything about the defendants over whose cases they preside. All they know is the evidence that gets introduced at trial. So the judges need a complete background investigation about the person they are, undertaking to sentence. It's a very consequential decision, how much time to give a particular offender once he or she is convicted of crimes. Now, we all know about Donald Trump's background, as does Judge Merchan. However, I am comforted that the normal procedures are being followed. Donald Trump is being interviewed by the probation office in New York. That report will be generated, and then Judge Merchan has an enormously consequential decision to make. Do I sentence him to a period of incarceration or not? I'm going to lay my bet, and $1 is my betting limit, not a high roller. I'm not a gambling man. I'm going to place my buck on Judge Merchan imposing some period of incarceration. And here's why. This endeavor that we have just been through, Steph, the American people have been waiting for this verdict, having to endure Donald Trump's endless lies and then refusal to testify, because even though he promised the American people, I'm going to take the stand, I'm going to rock the mic, I'm going to testify, you can't stop me, he punked out, right? He couldn't even bring himself to defend himself in a court of law when given the opportunity. This entire endeavor we just have been through is all for naught if Judge Merchan sentences him to probation or home confinement. Probation is no kind of punishment, and it will not deter. One of the principles of sentencing is to deter others who might choose to follow this defendant's blueprint and commit felony crimes to gain unfair advantage in an election. Probation is no kind of punishment, but almost worse is home detention, because that is like sentencing Donald Trump to binge watch Netflix and order DoorDash. That's not it. Not only is that not punishment, That's a vacation for
Yeah.
Donald Trump. We can't send the signal that you can commit 34 felonies to corruptly try to win an election and get away unpunished and unscathed. I understand he's now a convicted felon. Technically, he will be once the sentencing is complete. That's when the conviction is entered. That's when you're a convicted felon. He has to be sentenced to incarceration. I believe the prosecutors in their sentencing memo, which they will file, will ask for incarceration. I believe Judge Merchan will impose a period of incarceration.
Wow. Oh, I hope so.
Oh. Do we just, I'm sorry. I know, you go first. Do other things come in, like the fact that he is an adjudicated rapist and business fraud? I mean, I know those are civil, but
everything is relevant. So in this pre-sentencing investigation and report that will be created and provided to Judge Merchan, it is a soup to nuts history of the offender. They will go into his prior criminal history. I think the findings of juries and judges in other cases, even if they're civil, I think those are relevant to sentencing, because one thing that the judge has to determine is whether this offender has any rehabilitative potential, and all of that is relevant on the question of rehabilitative potential. But they go into the family history, the educational history, if there's any, substance abuse problems. I mean, it is really like, this is your life in preparation for this is your sentence.
Yeah. I loved your picture. There are Justice Matters signs in there, and Big Trump is guilty, and you just said welcome accountability because justice matters.
Can I give a shout out to the great Kathleen Zaya? That's the person you see holding up the Justice Matters sign. She's one of our right-hand people on Team Justice. She's everywhere fighting for it, and she has been for years. So that's Kathleen.
Now, I was thinking of you, not just because I had 34 orgasms in a row for every felony count, but you have to tell me, where were you? What was your reaction? I thought of you more than anybody.
So I'm down here in Nashville. I'm presenting at CrimeCon, not only on my documentary that's up on Peacock streaming, but on the Homicide Victims Families Rights Act, some legislation I worked on with Representative Eric Swalwell that President Biden signed into law back in August 2022 to help homicide families whose loved ones' cases have grown cold. Sitting in my hotel room here, preparing my presentation when the news alert came on. So at that point, I immediately jumped on MSNBC streaming and listened to it in real time while Katie Phang was the host. And I'll tell you, a calm came over me when I heard guilty, 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 guilty. And frankly, it was a calm that I never experienced when I was sitting in my own cases waiting for a jury to deliver its verdict, because, this was a win for the rule of law. It was a win for accountability, and it proved something that I'm not sure we believed, Steph, that we can hold the pinnacle of the ruling class criminals in this country accountable for their crimes. That is such an important step forward for the rule of law